Last year, I re-reviewed the four Superman films for Superman's 85th anniversary. Although I failed to do a re-review of this one right here, but I decided to make it up to you and bring it to you since I recently saw the trailer for an upcoming documentary on the first Superman of the film industry himself, the late great Christopher Reeve. Well, after it had been almost 20 years since the fourth Superman film bombed, and many failed attempts to bring him back, we got him back in 2006. Here's a re-review of Superman Returns. This is Big D's entertainment rankings and reviews. So greetings, my fellow YouTubers, and welcome to Big D's entertainment rankings and reviews. My name is Doyle, better known to you as the Big D, and this time around I bring to you a review of the 2006 superhero flick Superman Returns, released by Warner Bros., directed by Bryan Singer, written by Michael Dougherty and Dan Harris, from a story by Singer and the latter too, based on the DC Comics superhero Superman. This is the sixth overall and final installment in the original Superman film series, and serves as an homage sequel to the original Superman from 1978 and Superman 2 from 1988, while ignoring the other films, Superman 3, Supergirl, and Superman 4: The Quest for Peace. The film stars Brandon Routh in the title role and as Clark Kent, along with Kate Bosworth as Lois Lane and Kevin Spacey as Lex Luthor, with James Marsden, Frank Langella, Ava Marie Saint, and Parker Posey in supporting roles. Film series on Superman as he returns to Earth after a 5-year absence, whereupon he discovers that his love interest, Miss Lane, has moved on with her life, and that his arch enemy Luthor is plotting a scheme to kill him and reshape North America. The film was released on June 28, 2006, just over just way just a little way over a year after the studio had after Warner Bros. Recently had success with Batman Begins. Now, of course, it was released on the 28th, just a week after it had its premiere in Los Angeles. This marks Superman's comeback to the screen after an almost 20-year absence, despite the failure of the Quest for Peace. And there have been numerous times to return, but, well, you get what I'm saying. Let's get into our story. Superman has been missing for 5 years, ever since he traveled to the location where astronomers believe they discovered the remains of Krypton. His nemesis Lex Luthor has been recently released from prison and married a rich widow to obtain her fortune upon her death. Having failed to find any surviving Kryptonians, Superman returns to Earth and resumes his job at the Daily Planet in Metropolis as his alter ego Clark Kent. There he learns that the woman he loves, Lois Lane, is engaged to Perry White's nephew Richard, with whom she has a 5-year-old son named Jason. She has won the Pulitzer Prize for her article, Why the World Doesn't Need Superman. Luthor travels to the Fortress of Solitude and steals Kryptonian crystals, which he uses for an experiment that causes a power outage on the East Coast. The power loss interferes with the flight test of a fictionalized space shuttle to be launched into space from its piggyback mounting on an airliner occupied by Lois, who is covering the story. Clark flies into action as Superman, launching the shuttle into the sky and stopping the plane from crashing. The world rejoices at Superman's return, though he has difficulty coping with the fact that those he was once close to has moved on from him. When Superman gets distracted by an out-of-control vehicle, a diversion involving Luthor's henchwoman Kitty Kowalski, Luthor steals kryptonite from the Metropolis Museum of Natural History. Perry assigns Lois to interview Superman, while Clark investigates the blackout. Lois and Jason inadvertently board Luthor's yacht and are captured after Lois decides to hold interest in the blackout story, which she connects to Luthor's experiment. He reveals to them his plan to use one of the stolen Kryptonian crystals, which he has combined with the kryptonite, to grow a new landmass in the Atlantic Ocean that will supplant the US and kill billions of people. Seeing young Jason seemingly have a reaction to kryptonite, Luthor asks Lois who his father is. Lois asserts that the father is Richard. The crystal begins to create Luthor's landmass while Lois attempts to escape but is attacked by one of Luthor's henchmen. However, she is saved by Jason, who throws a piano at the man and kills him, confirming that Superman is his father. Meanwhile, Superman attempts to minimize the destruction in Metropolis caused by the new landmass's growth, and Richard pilots a seaplane to rescue Lois and Jason. Now, and I'm going to the final act and ending, procedure, as always. Excuse me, everyone. Okay, and of course, I'm going to give you 5 seconds to stop this video. Go to the description box below and fast forward to the time below. If you've seen the movie already, please continue with. Okay, you've been warned. Confronting Luthor, Superman is weakened by the landmass since it is filled with kryptonite, allowing Luthor and his henchmen to brutalize him. Superman is stabbed with a shard of kryptonite, falls into the ocean, and is left to drown, but he is rescued by Lois and Richard. After Lois removes the kryptonite shard from his back, Superman regains his strength and lifts the landmass after putting layers of earth between him and the kryptonite. Luthor's henchmen are killed, but Luthor and Kitty escape in their helicopter. Unwilling to let billions of people die, Kitty tosses away the crystals that Lex stole from the Fortress of Solitude before their helicopter runs out of fuel, leaving them stranded on a deserted island. Superman pushes the landmass with crystals into space. Weakened by the kryptonite, he crashes back to Earth. At the hospital, after removing another shard of kryptonite from Superman's body, doctors learn that they cannot penetrate his skin with their surgical tools, and he remains in a coma. While visiting Superman, Lois whispers something into his ear and kisses him. Superman awakens and visits the sleeping Jason, to whom he recites the last speech from his father, Jor-El. As Lois starts writing an article into why the world needs Superman, Superman reassures her that he is back to stay and flies off to low orbit, where he gazes down at the world. End of story. So, what did I think of Superman Returns? Well, I'm going to say this is a big comeback for the Man of Steel, and I thought this was a very good film. I really liked Batman Begins and what have you, but this one really was just as good. The film got good reviews and what have you, and it eventually became a success, going on to make 391 million worldwide against its 204 to $223 million budget, and became the ninth highest grossing film of 2006. Unfortunately, Warner Bros. Was disappointed with the worldwide box office return and canceled a sequel set for release 3 years later as a result. And instead, Superman film series was completely rebooted with Man of Steel in 2013, directed by Zack Snyder, starring Henry Cavill as Superman and launching the DCEU, now this funk, and is due to be rebooted again next year with Superman, directed by James Gunn and starring David Corenswet as the titular character, launching the new improved DC universe. Years later, Routh later reprised his role as Superman in the Arrowverse crossover Crisis on Infinite Earths. Anyway, the reviews for the film are pretty good. It got positive reviews. They praised the visual effects, storyline, and Bryan Singer's direction, who, of course, after he had recently directed the first two X-Men films, which this was released in 2006, and of course that explains why he didn't direct the third film, which was released a month prior. Unfortunately, they criticized the screenplay and runtime. Well, the runtime's kind of long. It's like a tiny bit over 2 hours. But yeah, it could just use a little trimming, but not a whole lot. I mean, but I don't really mind the runtime. This is just as long as the original Superman, or heck, even Superman 2. Well, sort of. I'd say more, just as long as the first film. Okay, enough said. The film sits at 74% on Rotten Tomatoes, saying Bryan Singer's reverent and visually decadent adaptation gives the Man of Steel welcome emotional complexity. The result, a satisfying stick to your ribs adaptation. Metacritic has a score of 72 and CinemaScore give it a B plus. Time magazine called it one of the best superhero films, courtesy of Richard Corliss, and he was mostly impressed with Singer's direction and the storyline. The Wall Street Journal was impressed and gave it a positive review, but observed the acting by Routh and Bosworth was somewhat dead or super average, nothing special. According to the reviewer, Joe Morgenstern, believed Lex Luthor's characterization was well written by the writers and well played by Kevin Spacey. Well, that's understandable. Peter Travers wrote in Rolling Stone felt the film perfectly updates Superman for the modern audience. I couldn't agree more. Unfortunately, Roger Ebert argued the film was a glum, lackluster movie in which even the big effect sequences seemed dutiful instead of exhilarating. And he also felt that Brandon Routh lacks charisma as Superman, surmising that he may have been cast because he looks a little like Reeve. Well, that's understandable. He actually does bear a little bit of resemblance to the late Christopher Reeve, which this film was actually dedicated to him and his wife. Anyway, but I liked the direction that Bryan Singer took this film in. He did exceptionally good. John Ottman, who also worked on the X-Men film scores on some of those, actually did the score for this film, and he does a good job. It also uses the popular Superman theme song. Its opening credits are just as very well impressive as the original film or the sequel. So anyway, I found Superman Returns to be very good. And the story isn't too bad. I don't care what they say. Now, for our cast, we have Brandon Routh as Clark Kent, alias Superman. I must admit, he does a good job. Now, of course, he would return later on, not just as Superman the Crisis on Infinite Earths Arrowverse crossover, but he'd also go on to play Adam in DC's recent hit TV series. Well, I think you know what I'm talking about, don't you? Okay, I'm just playing with y'all. He was in Legends of Tomorrow. He also would go on to appear on NBC's hit Chuck and also in Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. Kate Bosworth played Lois Lane, and I must admit, she's very good. I mean, as much as I liked Margot Kidder in the original four films, but she does just as good a job. James Marsden, who before this had a little bit of a minor appearance in X-Men The Last Stand before this, took on the role of Richard White. I'm going to say he's very good in his performance. Frank Langella played Perry White, and he does a good job, and especially once he says White's famous catchphrase, "Great Caesar's Ghost." Yes, I was impressed with that. Ava Marie Saint played Martha Kent, of course, Clark Kent's adoptive mother. Parker Posey played Kitty Kowalski, who, of course, was actually based on Eve Teschmacher, played by Valerie Perrine in the original film and its sequel. She's good. Sam Huntington, who I can only recall seeing him, well, in the film Detroit Rock City, played Jimmy Olsen, and he was very good. And Kevin Spacey as Lex Luthor, wow, really incredible. Now, of course, his version of the character retains some campy attributes and a similar interest in real estate from the earlier Gene Hackman version, but is also more serious and threatening than Hackman's portrayal. Now, Spacey said that Singer told him to play the character as darker and more bitter compared to Hackman, and not to use the earlier portrayal as an inspiration. Well, that's understandable. Now, we have a posthumous appearance by Marlon Brando as Jor-El. Of course, Brando died 2 years prior. So they used that for the 1970 film through the use of previous footage combined with computer-generated imagery (CGI). Well, this required negotiations with Brando's estate for permission to have use of the footage. Um, yeah. Let's see. They had Jack Larson who played Jimmy Olsen in the Adventures of Superman TV series in 1958 as a bartender, and Noel Neal who played Lois Lane in the television series and the Superman theatrical serials in 1948, as well as 1950's Atom Man vs. Superman to play Luthor's elderly wife Gertrude Vanderwerth. But also, I really liked the performance of young Tristan Lebo. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that, as Jason White. He was exceptionally good. So anyway, I think Superman Returns is just so incredible. The story is good, no matter what they say. I like the score from John Ottman. Bryan Singer's direction's really good too, and it has a great cast. And I thought it was good. It should have deserved a sequel, but I can understand why Warner Bros. Was not impressed with and thrilled with the performance. But you know what they say, nobody's perfect. So anyway, I think it was just so awesome. So with everything said, Superman Returns was awesome. But would I recommend it? I'd say hell yeah, go for it. I think you'll really like it if you give it a shot. So anyway, Superman Returns is worth looking into. You can find it on physical media. You can find it streaming on various services, including Max. But what did you think of Superman Returns? Let me know in the comment section below. If you like this video, click the like button, subscribe, and be a part of the Big D Nation. Continue to help support my channel. Make it grow and make the views grow. Join me next time when I bring to you a review of the Lego Batman movie. Now, if you like this, check out my re-reviews of the first two Superman films. In the upper left-hand corner is my re-review of the original from 1978, and the upper right-hand corner is my re-review of Superman 2 from 1980. Or, if you would like, check out my re-review of a film that came out before this, in Batman Begins, in the bottom left-hand corner. And the bottom right-hand corner is the button you can click to subscribe if you like rankings and reviews on movies, TV, music, video games, etc. Then I'm your guy. Thanks for watching. Until next time, I'm the Big D saying, see ya.